It is Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan along for the ride as well. You're doing the old Rex Hudler thing. You always have to have a baseball in your hands. Like that's Huddy's thing.
I go pen, baseball. I got to do something. These hands need to be moving, see, Rosie. I'll put them down. I want to focus on the show. I'm sorry.
No. You please. I'm not
Okay.
trying to take that away from you. That's pure enjoyment. Yeah. Are you still coaching Teddy's team? I mean, what are we doing? Are we taking a break during the fall? What happens?
Yeah. Well, I'm like semi-coaching. He joined like a
Am
kind
I?
of a travel ball team. So these guys are doing it. I help
Oh,
out on practices. I don't go on the field. But we're taking some time off now. But I will say this. Every kid should just have a ball, like a tennis ball, and just play with it.
you're right.
How you create good hands.
Yeah. Just don't throw it against the wall. Mom and dad will get pissed
Yes,
at that one.
throw it against the wall.
No, don't
Yes,
do it in your
that's
house.
yes.
No, not in the house. No way.
Who
Leaving marks on
cares?
it? I care.
Who cares?
I care. Maybe that's
You
why
got a
my
really
kid.
nice mansion. That's why.
Yeah, good try. Good try, big baller. Oh, let me run outside and see if Cooper Cup or Matthew Stafford or Sean McVay are outside today. That's how you roll. Let's get it going with a little more Shohei news, but this time from the Giants side of things. We'll get to their big signing from Tuesday momentarily. But Andrew Baggarly of The Athletic wrote a really interesting column talking about the Giants and their pursuit of Shohei. They had him up there in San Francisco. Buster Posey was a part of the meetings for the second time. He was there actually in 2018 when they tried to recruit him first time around. And obviously, it didn't pay off. And this little nugget from Baggarly that the Giants took their biggest swing on Ohtani. They didn't hesitate to authorize offering him the exact terms, almost totally deferred 10 years, $700 million that he accepted from the Dodgers, as detailed by Giants president of baseball ops Farhan Zaidi in a conference call with reporters on Tuesday. They did not offer one penny less than their arch rivals did. It was also made clear to them it wouldn't have mattered if they offered a penny more or several million more. Should this make Giants fans feel better or worse about their big name free agent slump that they are seemingly in?
I think it should make them feel the same. I feel like they already do feel pretty bad about not being able to get guys, and they missed on another one. There's a lot of different factors. I believe Shohei in his own right, obviously has been in Los Angeles for a while, feels comfortable down here. And then if you're just looking at the two organizations over the next 10 years and you're saying which one has a better chance of me getting into the playoffs, having a chance at the World Series, I mean, right now you look at them, it's obviously the Dodgers. Their farm system isn't what it used to be, but it's still much higher than the Giants. So I think right now I'm looking at one of the rankings. They have the 21st ranked farm system. The major league talent is okay. If you're looking at a place that you want to go win right now, it's not San Francisco. And then, I don't mean to bash on the city, and I haven't been up there a lot. I went there last year, when I called the Oakland games, and it kind of looked the same to me. But I've heard a lot of bad things about what's going on in San Francisco right now. So you kind of have to like sell the player on that. You used to be able to say, "Hey, come to San Francisco. It's one of the best cities in the country. It's amazing." And right now, I feel like it's in a little bit of a lull. So there's difficulties surrounding the Giants in a bunch of different facets. So I mean, Giants fans are kind of down bad right now, if you will. They're looking up at three teams at least three teams in the NL West, and they
Mhm.
keep missing on these guys. I mean, it's not a good feeling. Like having to go above and beyond to sign free agents is not something typical, I would say, of the San Francisco Giants, but it is now. It's a new reality for them.
I want to touch on something that you hit on because we discussed this, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago about the city of San Francisco. And a lot of people, we got a ton of pushback in the comments saying that that's unfair. You don't talk about other cities that way. Go read Baggerly's column if you can in The Athletic, because Buster Posey is actually quoted and he talks about how much he loves San Francisco. He has actually moved his entire family back to the Bay Area from Georgia. But he did make the point that in a lot of the free agent meetings that he has had recently, that a lot of players bring up the city of San Francisco. And he said whether it's perception or reality, that is part of the discussion. So we're not just throwing this stuff out there and trying to say, oh, San Francisco's, because I'll be
Yeah,
honest with you, I love San Francisco when I traveled up there. I haven't been up there a lot lately, but just from people that do live up there, I have heard things. And so obviously this is now trickling its way into the free agency world in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bag on. I too have had a good time in San Francisco, and where we stay is kind of right in downtown Grand. I think it's not Grand Central Station, it's Grand whatever it is there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Grant, I believe.
it's a little interesting. See, Rosie, it's a little interesting down there right now. But you can really say that about any major
A
city.
lot
You
of
can find
yes.
bad pockets in any major city. But yeah, I agree with you. The perception of San Francisco right now is it's not at its peak.
Okay. So let's get past that if we can and just talk about the baseball side of things. This is why, over the last several years, when we have had discussions about chasing after Arson Judge or Carlos Correa and then passing on that one because of the medicals, which I certainly understand when they were originally going to offer him whatever it was, a 13-year deal. I said at the time, this is going to affect their ability to go get Shohei because he's a smart guy. He has played against everybody in the league every year now, and he knows what the opposition is all about. A guy who has never made the playoffs since he's been in the States for 6 seasons. Do you think he wants to join a team? If Shohei joined this team right now, where would you have put them in the National League West pecking order?
Around the same. I mean, they're
Exactly.
competing for third or fourth.
Exactly. Around the same. Whereas he knows that if he goes to LA, that's not going to be the case. This dude wants to. Part of the reason we're going to talk about deferrals in a second, but the reason he did the whole deferral thing wasn't because I mean, listen, it sounds like an amazing gesture, but he wants to improve his legacy. He wants to freaking win some ball games. He wants to be taken at bats in October. And I guarantee you, he looked at the Giants situation and said, maybe maybe it all gets together and we win 107 games like they did a few years ago, but it ain't likely. And I can't be living in the world of maybe right now.
Yeah, I think this was an easy decision for him. And I think LA was probably his preferred spot all along. And I will say this about Bay Area fans. Look, you can't really complain about, the Dodgers and a super team and them getting all the people. You guys have the Warriors, and for a while they did the exact same thing up there with the
Yes.
basketball.
Yeah. Um, I feel for the Giants fans. They're great fans. I always loved covering the World Series when they were up there, but that isn't going to be the selling point anymore. It can't be, hey, we won in 10, 12, and 14 because that's just you've got to grow. Some of these kids that we saw come up last year have got to turn into the Posies, the Bumgardners, the Canes, the Lincecums, the Brian Wilsons of the world. And then you start sprinkling in some guys because that's the only way you're going to get back in this ball game. And as of right now, it's not happening.
Can I give a suggestion to the San Francisco Giants organization?
Yeah.
You got to work with what you got up there, right? Like you sell your high points of your city and your culture and all that stuff. What do we know about the Bay Area? It's tech driven.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And some tech companies have left, but there's still a ton there. That should be a pitch. Those guys, the CEOs of those companies that are up there, they need to befriend them and bring them into these meetings. Say, hey man, not only are we going to play for the Giants in this beautiful ballpark in this city that I know is going to get shined up and be back to where it's been, but we're going to hook you up with these tech guys, and who knows what's going to happen off the field. So like you have to play to your strengths, man. I don't know if they've done that or not, but that's what I would do.
All right, so let's continue on with the Giants, and it's the reason I'm wearing their orange spring training cap from a few years ago. They do get a big-time free agent. South Korean outfielder Jung Hoo Lee gets 113 mil over 6 years, according to John Heyman. How good should San Francisco fans feel about this after missing out on a prize player in recent years, or does this feel like an overpay?
I mean, I don't know if it feels like an overpay. They paid what they wanted to pay. I feel like they should feel good about this. I mean, I have only seen him play a little bit WBC. Some of the highlights I've been seeing online. I have played with guys from Korea that have come over. Byung Ho Park came over during my tenure. He was like the stud over there, big time power hitter. And there hasn't been a great track record with like Korean hitters coming over. There just hasn't been. And one thing he would say to me, Byung Ho, I'm talking about now, is the game is just everyone's bigger over here. Everyone throws a little bit harder over here. Everyone hits for more power over here. He couldn't believe the first couple of days when we were hitting batting practice. He goes like pointing to like a guy like Eddie Escobar, a second baseman. He's like, everybody can hit homers here. He couldn't believe it. And this guy had incredible power. That was awesome to watch. But this is a different type of player, and I think they're going after him for a few different reasons. And the reasons they're going after him are going to help your ball club. The plate discipline is there. That is That's something that does translate 100%. Now, the power probably not going to be there for him. I know he had a good year in 2022, but you're going to go play in San Francisco. That's not a great place to hit homers in. I think the main reason they went out and did this was for him to go play center field. He's I think he's won 5 Gold Glove equivalents over there in the KBO, and they don't really have a guy that can go get it in that outfield right now. So to go put that's a vast, big outfield, and if you have a center field that can go cover ground, that's going to help your team a lot. So they're hoping he rebounds from his ankle injury. He can go and do that. And look, man, sometimes you need to. They're going to need. If you think this is an overpay, which I don't know if it is or not, they're going to have to start overpaying and
That's the thing.
overpaying and overpaying. Like that's what they have to do, and they can do it if they're willing to commit $700 million to Shohei Ohtani. Then they need to go overpay for Yamamoto. They need to go overpay. Like they need to go do that to get back to a competitive, like a competitive window. Don't you agree?
Totally. Totally, man. It doesn't really fit the way the rest of their team is constructed. So maybe this is the starting point for them, which is why I don't mind them spending the money at all, by the way. I mean, he seems like an athletic
Yeah.
outfielder that can really go get it, high on pace of over 400. The guy hits for average, so he strikes out very, very little. Now, could that change with the velocity that he faces over here? Absolutely. I've never gotten a definitive response on really what sort of pitching guys are facing over in the KBO. Is it the equivalent of high double A, low triple A on a consistent basis? Like, I just don't know enough, right? We're not watching KBO games on a daily basis over here. So I think that's the biggest question mark, but I like it. It's just, I really think I look at the rest of the lineup and I'm like, guys, we gotta change the composition of this team. And if it starts here and doesn't end here, then I'm on board.
Agreed. I mean, there needs to be more moves. I mean, it is. I mean, they're in a tough division, and as far as like the KBO goes and what the level is, I got scouted to go over there at the end of my career. I
Hmm.
thought about it for a while, and I asked the same question. There's a scout. I said, "What are we looking at?" Some guys go over there that are career minor leaguers and go over there and crush and are like MVP type players. What level are we? I was like, "Is this a triple A league? Is this a double A, triple A league?" And he scoffed at that. He really did. He said it was above that, and that he wanted like guys that were all in and really bought in. I didn't. He didn't call me back. I think he thought I was like mocking it, which I wasn't. I'm really curious because you do see guys who struggle in the states to even keep footing in the big leagues go over there and dominate. So it's interesting. See, Rosie, I'm you know when any when anyone comes to Major League Baseball for the first time, whether it's a rookie that's been in the farm system getting his feet wet in the big leagues, whether it's a guy from Japan, whether it's a guy from KBO, whether it's a guy from Cuba. You want to see him play in the big leagues. This is it. This is the
Right.
number one league, and it's different, and it's scary, and there's pressure, and now you know you're playing against the best of the best of the best. So it's like you root for guys, and you try to analyze and say, hey, this guy can be this, but you got to see first.
I'm looking forward to it. I want to see him. I'd like to see him do well. I think anytime
Me too.
people from around the world come here, I root for him. I
Me
think the
too,
adjustment is so challenging. You're away from family and
dude.
friends and everything you've grown up with and your culture and the food and just everything. It's a huge adjustment. So you're also trying to prove yourself on the world's grandest stage. The nice thing for him is that he does have a 9-figure contract to make it a little
Yeah,
more
man.
comfortable for him. So that part is cool.
This one, again, is brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook. All I want for the holidays this year is some NBA action. This week, new customers can score 150 instantly in bonus bets just for betting $5. An instant dub just for you. A layup, if you will, a slam dunk. And all you need to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code BASEBALL today. New customers can get 150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on basketball. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code BASEBALL today. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/basketball for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
All right, let's get to the Shohei deferral part. And this was announced shortly after our show came out on Monday, so we haven't had a chance to bite at this apple. 680 of the 700 million will go to Shohei after his 10-year deal with the Dodgers is complete. Even though this is perfectly legal in the collective bargaining agreement, it did seem to cause some outrage among some of the baseball community. In your opinion, should it?
No, I don't think it should have. I think the way that the news came out made it an easy target for people's outrage. And they did so well, Shohei's camp in this free agency, to keep everything a secret. I think they planned on announcing it just the way they did, but I think it backfired. I think their plan was, let's get this number out, this $700 million number out, because it's awesome for the agency. It looks cool for the player. It even looks cool for the Dodgers, to be honest with you. You're willing to spend this much money.
Mhm.
And then second part to that, act two was, but Shohei's a great teammate and he's deferring it all. So they wanted, I think the whole story was, made the money, great, put this number out. Ha, ha, like Boris, gotcha, whatever. And then Shohei's a great teammate, but it didn't turn into that because everyone said, "Dang, 70 million on the CBT," to only find out it's going down to 46 million. So just it backfired. People thought one thing when they didn't have context, Chris. We didn't have the context of the deferrals when it came out. Or we didn't have the context of the contract, excuse me. We didn't know about the deferrals when the contract first came out. So people had all these preconceived notions. Then you found the context out too late. Everyone's head was already blown. So I think that you have to look at it this way. Teams weren't going to go, and now we kind of know. Like 10 years, 500, if they were paying him straight up, was probably what teams were going to go with. It ends up being a 10-year, $460 million cap hit, essentially. Because I will call it a cap, because that's what it is, people, soft cap. If that number, if the deferrals came out with the initial contract, I don't think we'd be having this uproar. If that makes any sense to you. I think the initial shock and 70 million against the CBT, and all of a sudden, no, it's 46. That's what outraged people. And the fact that he went to the Dodgers. Can't forget about that.
You know why people are most upset? Because it didn't happen for their team.
Kind of, yeah, that's a big one.
No, that's the whole deal.
Yeah,
if this had happened in Milwaukee or Cleveland or Kansas City, and of course
smart
it never
team.
could.
What a smart team.
Go, wow, that's incredible. Folks, this is one of one. There aren't going to be guys that are having $700 million contracts.
Yes.
And there certainly aren't guys who are going to be willing to defer 96% of their money. It's not going to happen. Shohei, yes, he does want to win. Yes, he wants to help out the Dodgers. But nobody else is collecting between $40 and $50 million a year off the field. It's not happening in this sport. It's not happening in any of the major sports, but it's certainly not happening in this sport, where the next guys in line are like Bryce Harper and Aaron Judge, and if you believe those numbers, that's right around $5 million a year. But it is not coming close. This is the only guy that will have this done in the foreseeable future, and probably ever in our baseball lifetime. So don't get mad at him because he decided to use the system. Now, I will listen to you all day if in the next collective bargaining agreement they come up with some sort of stipulation that this can't happen. Because I will say this, it's perfectly legal, but it sounds dirty.
Sure, yeah, I agree with that. And you know what? You're totally right about the next CBT, and the owner's just like, oh, this is great, because they don't really care about that. But they're going to start pointing to that, making sure, you know what, we don't want unlimited deferrals, even though they don't care, but they're going to make the MLBPA give something up to keep those unlimited deferrals. This is the game that gets played in these collective bargaining agreements. So people that are saying that are right. It is going to come up in the next CBA talks, but only because the owners know now PR is on their side with that.
So there was something real interesting, and I was on X throughout the last 48 hours. We had a clip that went out on Monday where we talked about whether or not Shohei would get booed. And I quote tweeted it and said, listen, show your face if you're going to boo. And there was
Everyone's
a decent
face.
percentage. Right, exactly. Nobody sent pictures, but people would send the emoji of raising their hand and said, I'm absolutely going to boo him. And then there were a bunch of people that said no. And then it changed. Once the news came out about the deferrals, then it went overboard where people were like, I'm going to boo him left and right. I'm thinking to myself, why in the world did this change so much? If you just take a big step back and realize that it's perfectly legal, that did he kind of circumvent things? I don't know if that's the right word because he didn't. He didn't.
He
We
did it.
they all knew the rules going into this thing. He just utilized them to his advantage and certainly his team's advantage.
That's why people are mad. You see what I'm pointing at right there?
Yeah. I mean, there's a
It's the
handful of
Dodgers.
teams. It's Dodgers,
Dodgers,
Yankees,
Yankees,
Cubs,
Mets.
Red
I don't know if they would have
Sox.
been mad at the Cubs. I don't know if they would have been mad at the Cubs if they did this
Mm,
too. I think they would have been like, "Oh, smart job there." But LA is you get Mookie, you get Freddie. I mean,
mhm.
it's and I get people's frustration. I get it, man. I get it. But I will point out this, like you do have to have a decent payroll, I think, to have a good shot at winning the World Series year in and year out. I think that's been shown. Like you need to be an upper half payroll in baseball, but your team can be an upper half payroll team in baseball. They can. And just because the TV deals aren't good right now, it's business. They got to figure out their business.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
the bottom line. And there's a lot of people who want in this. Oh, I had this discussion last night, and I guess we're going to go here. There's a lot of people who want to buy into Major League Baseball. A lot of very wealthy people want to buy into Major League Baseball. And there's a reason that your small market owner doesn't want to sell his team, even though team valuations are at an all-time high. Like all these people that have owned the teams for so long can make so much money right now. The what's the least valuable team in baseball right now? Like 1.8 billion, maybe 2 billion, probably, I would
Something.
assume. They don't want to sell and take that money because it's lucrative still. And it's a monopoly. It's an antitrust exempt sport. Like there's a lot of reasons why they don't want to sell the team. So tell your owner to spend money.
Yeah, listen, I love this sport, but I also pay attention to the business side as much as I can. I can't always wrap my head around everything. There is a major issue. I do think that competitively, in terms of different teams that have won the World Series over the last 15 to 20 years, uh, it's comparable and in some cases better than the NFL and the NBA because there have been more dynastic runs in those sports. However, the viewership basically comes down to like four or five teams. And
Yeah.
that is a major, major issue. And there's no question, nobody's going to fight me on that. I mean, the Dallas area is huge in this country. But when it came to viewership, and Phoenix, by the way, those are two major metropolitan areas in this country.
Both top 10 for
Nothing,
sure.
did nothing as far as the ratings went this year. That's a problem. And it has been a problem for a while. So I think competitive, there's two different areas here if you're talking about the business of
Sure,
baseball.
sure.
Competitive, you do have a shot if you're the Tampa Bay Rays and you're not spending any payroll. You do. Not nearly as good as the Dodgers or Yankees or these other teams. But then the interest. When the Tampa Bay Rays get in there, they best better be playing the Dodgers, or they better be playing the Cubs, or they better be playing the Mets. Because if not, people outside of the
Everyone
baseball world aren't going to get drawn in.
everyone's at fault for that. Or not at fault, but everyone needs to chip in on this. I mean, Major League Baseball
Totally.
needs to do a better job marketing their players. The teams specifically need to do a better job using social media, using whatever needs to happen. Like they're trying to do this MLB creator class. Like I don't know, man. There's ways to market. There's ways to get your name out there. Like you just got to be able to be willing to do it. And Major League Baseball and all the teams and all the players, to be honest with you, need to look at themselves in the mirror and say, how can we continue to grow this thing? Because continuing to market the game the way they marketed the game just isn't working. It
No,
isn't.
it is not. All right, let's move on from the Dodgers to the Yankees. Juan Soto officially became Yankee, I suppose, on Tuesday when he met the media via Zoom, which was very interesting. We can talk about that in a moment. He was just traded along with Trent Grisham for five players from the San Diego Padres. Of course, Soto is headed into the last year of his deal, and he was asked about whether or not he would be thinking about that going into his season in the Bronx.
I going to the team to New York to Tampa, whatever I'm gonna meet those guys, and try to get a real good relationship and try to really stick together, get to know those guys and push and try to get the same goal as they want. That's what my main thing is right now. About any contract stuff, They know where to call and who to talk to. I'm here just to play baseball.
They know who to call. I love that. Do you think it's going to wear on Soto because the New York media is going to continue to ask this question well beyond spring training?
I think they'll probably say, "Hey, after the season starts, we're not talking about that." That's a job for, the PR guy of the Yankees to make sure that happens. I'm sure Boris is going to put that out. I'm sure Soto will probably say that as well because he is going to test free agency unless the Yankees go crazy and say, "Hey, look, here's a blank check. What do you want to stay here?" Which I don't think they'll do because I think they're going to want to see him in New York and how he handles everything. By the way, did he have a beard like that I don't remember because he looked different. Looked very, very clean shaven right there.
No, he's always
He's
been.
never had a beard, right?
No, he just
But
looked
he
different
looked
because he was wearing
different.
an NY on his head.
It was, oh my goodness. It was okay. Yeah, he'll get sick of it if it gets continued to be asked, but I don't think it will. I think eventually there'll be some sort of like hard, like, hey guys, like if you ask this question, like you're going to be out of here. There's no reason to do it.
Well, stop. That cannot happen.
It happens
You
all the
can't.
time, C. Rosie.
No, no,
And,
no,
and,
no,
and
no.
you know what?
Not when it
They're not going
comes
to
to
say,
this.
okay, I'm sorry. They're not going to say, ask that question, you're out of here. They won't say that, but they'll say,
Yeah.
guys, like we don't need to keep bringing this up. They will say that.
Fine. But guess what? The elements change. Let's say over the first 2 months of the season, Soto comes out on fire. Does this help or hurt the Yankees' ability to retain you, in your opinion? Juan, are you enjoying your time here? Juan, what do you think of the city? Juan, I mean, those are all
Those are
viable
easy
questions.
questions, though. I love the city. I love playing here.
I get it, but I think after a
Boom.
while, it could wear on you, and it could go the other way, right? If last year he did not start out well, and if that happens, hey, are you thinking too much about the contract? Is that wearing on like that sort of stuff? I'm just saying it could come up.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's going to get frustrated with the New York media at some point next year. He's also going to love the New York media at some point next year. It's definitely a peaks and valley type situation, basically depending on how you're playing. But he's going to be coached up in the PR game. You get a PR coach and you say, okay, here's the answers for this general type of question. This is what you say to shut them up. Give him enough, but not, like he's going to be fine. I don't think this is going to be a problem. Now, I'll take that back if he starts to struggle because I think that's when athletes have trouble with the New York media is when they start having to answering questions like about their struggles and it's day in and day out. That's when guys get a little frustrated with everything because they're frustrated with themselves and they take it out on the reporter's question.
Yeah, I want to try and find this text I had with somebody pretty well in the Padres organization. I wanted to find out what Soto was like behind the scenes down there. And the words were individual contractor, never really assimilated. So
that's not fair, dude. That's not fair. It's hard. That's hard to go to a new team.
I get it, but that's just it is fair because that's what they perceived. So whether it's reality or not, take it for what it's worth. That's fine.
I gotta know who it is that said that, but I know you won't tell me.
Right.
I mean, I'm a guy that's gone to a couple different teams. My personality is probably a little bit more boisterous than Juan Soto. I'll try to get along with everybody. But it is a very difficult thing to go to a new team, new organization. Yeah.
I don't doubt it.
Especially if you're Juan Soto and you start to struggle a little bit. I mean,
but now this is the year where he truly is like an independent contractor. Like he's brought in as a hired gun. The Yankees certainly hope that it's more than a 1-year relationship, but you just never know. So we'll have to see. All right, last thing before we get out of here. This is our final show of the week. So we want to wish our buddy Vinnie Pasquantino, the Kansas City Royals, and his fiance Ryann, that's with 2 N's at the end of Ryan, by the way, the best on their nuptials this weekend. So congratulations to the happy couple ahead of time. What advice would you give them on their wedding day?
oh, I don't know. I love love and I love being married. I'm like the happiest married guy around. I would say that I try to continuously like get better at being a husband.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just like stop. It's like baseball, Vinny. Like just continue to try to get better. Learn what this is gonna sound sappy. Learn the love language. We know what makes them happy. I think that's important. I just like kind of figured that out not too long ago, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And just strive to get better, dude. I love being a good husband. All I want to do is impress my wife. That's like my number one thing that I try to do. And you don't have to force it, but like, Do things that you know she'll like, and you'll get it reciprocated, and be a good example for your kids when you do have them. If you do have them, your relationship means a lot, even though you don't think it does.
Okay, that's very nice. For their wedding day, I would say do this. Get away from everybody for like 5 minutes because it
Mm.
is at the end of the day about you. And so many people just treat it as a party and you're getting pulled left and right and you have to visit every table and this and that and the other thing. And we got the pictures and so wants to talk to you. And like, just take 5 minutes just to go look around or stand away from everybody and just appreciate it. Like it is God willing, you only do this once. So I would say just let's start with that. The other advice we can work on later, but let's just start with this weekend to enjoy the day, get away, take it all in, and go, yeah, that was pretty cool.
I like that wedding day. I kind of missed that part of the question. I don't know if Vinny's a guy that puts him back, kind of looks like it. Not gonna lie, looks like he can slug a few.
Mhm.
Just stay away from like your friends are gonna come start offering you shots
Yes.
and all that stuff.
Don't do
Don't
that.
do shots. No shots. Maybe like
Ugh.
one toast and then fake it. Like don't. It could get out of hand, bro.
I had a friend who got married, and the bride was so hungover at the wedding, she had to get up and go puke.
It happens, man.
I know, but let's not. Let's
Can I
just
tell you
not
something
do
that's
that.
kind of crazy? Like my advice to people is like have like your own tiny private ceremony, get married
Oh,
before, and just have a party. That's
not
what I
bad.
would. If I could do it again, that's what I would do.
Okay, it's not bad.
Save some money, and then like
Hmm.
only are there for the party.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Very, very interesting. All right. We will be around if big stuff breaks. You know, the glass now rumors to the Dodgers. We're always going to be on top of that stuff. So don't worry. You're always going to get the content you
Did you
crave.
text him?
I'd let him be, but I might get him today.
Okay.
We'll see how it's going. I'll ask him if he needs a room here. He's going to be like, no, buddy. I grew up there. Remember?
Remember
Remember?
Santa Cruz Valley, just
I
like
went to Heart
TP.
High. Yeah. I still have plenty of friends, but he's always welcome. He's
But
family.
Glass, you can come stay at my house. I have an extra room. Come on.
That's true. He might like mine more though. You'll love your neighborhood though. He'll love your neighborhood.
Okay.
I'm kidding. We just have high ceilings for him. That's why because he's tall.
Wow. That's true.
That's
That's
all.
true. That's true. I have a
High
ranch
ceiling.
style home.
It's high ceilings. That wasn't it. It was remember we've got one that's 6 foot, almost 6'5". We build them tall around it. That's all.
Mm.
And I screwed myself on that. All right, for our one of a kind producer Dan Rourke and the uber talented man who has a way better house than I do, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. We will see you soon here on Baseball Today.